This episode is for two types of people, the employed and the recently laid off. And in this economy, those groups are honestly closer than you would think. You are either building a side hustle before you actually need it, or you're building one because you need it now. Same playbook, different urgency. The biggest mistake that people make when they decide to build a side hustle is to try to reinvent themselves. Oh, there's this new niche. They try to identify with this new industry or identity or certification, maybe even a new degree. And 6 months later, they are still stuck in research mode with no income to show for it, which is why I keep emphasizing that speed to income wins, not reinvention, leverage. The goal is not to become someone new. The goal is to monetize who you already are. Because trust me, that is valuable. Welcome to UGC Pro, the podcast where creative strategy, UGC innovation, and freelancing success collide. I'm your host, Kelly Rockline, a self-taught creative marketer from the brand and creator side, with over a decade of experience working with hundreds of brands and driving over $500 million in revenue. Now, as a mentor to more than 10,000 aspiring UGC creators and creative strategists, I'm here to help you unlock your full potential. Whether you're here to sharpen your ad game or gain fresh insights to elevate your creative freelance business, you're in the right place. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, or habit stack. Is there a pile of laundry that you need to get through? What about unloading the dishwasher? Maybe it's a good time to go out and get some fresh air. Whether you're cuddled up on the couch or getting your steps in, I am so happy you're here. So without further ado, let's dive in. Instead of starting with step 1, we're going to start with step 0, which is stabilizing. If you were laid off, I want you to 1, file for unemployment absolutely immediately if you haven't already. I want you to treat it like insurance because that's what it is. You paid into it, you use it, and if your state has bridge programs that allow you to build a business while collecting benefits, look into them. For example, I live in Oregon, and there is actually a self-employment assistance program that allows eligible people to focus on building a business while receiving weekly benefits. Obviously, you don't all live in Oregon, but the point is that there are options that do exist if you look for them. So stop spiraling and start stabilizing. And now for those that are employed, I don't want you to wait for crisis to force action. The best way and time to build a runway is when you do not need it yet. My mom has always said, the best time to look for a job is when you have one. And honestly, that same logic applies to building income streams. Now for step 1, I want you to monetize your existing skill set. Do not start from scratch. Your job already proves that you have value in the market. For you, it could be engineering, sales, finance, HR, design, operations, marketing. Whatever you already do well is your starting line. And that is where leverage lies. For example, for me, that was UGC, so user-generated content. I already had performance marketing experience. I had already been in the industry for like 5-7 years. I already understood creative testing and what made ads convert. So UGC wasn't random, it was adjacent. And that's why it worked really fast. I wasn't learning marketing from zero. I was repackaging an existing skill into a new container. You don't get paid for what's trendy. You get paid for what you can execute well. Okay, quick editor's note. As I've been building out the extended YouTube and podcast deep dive, expanding on this limited series in partnership with Entrepreneur, I realized that I do need to pause and speak directly to a specific group of you. I say specific group because if you are already in marketing, studying marketing in college, working adjacent to performance, or in sales, or you genuinely enjoy content creation, you are uniquely positioned to win in either UGC or creative strategy, or both like me. Or if you're a former or active commercial actor, if you understand scripts, delivery, and audience psychology, even if you studied it in your undergrad, you are closer to launching a high-income side hustle than you think. UGC and creative strategy are not influencer jobs, they are performance roles. And the skills needed are some of the most valued ones in marketing today. UGC works because it's adjacent to skills that already exist in the market. Brands need content that converts organically on TikTok and Instagram. So think of like the post that they're actually posting to their page. That said, they also need content that converts in paid ads and drives revenue for the brand. And at that intersection is where performance creative sits. They need people who understand hooks, angles, testing frameworks, and iteration cycles. Most internal teams either lack the bandwidth or the depth in performance creative. And when I see a gap, I see opportunity. And honestly, creative strategy is even greater leverage. It moves you from being the person on camera to the person that is directing what gets tested from a strategy perspective. It's understanding why something works, not just how to film it, and thinking is always going to pay more than execution. What I love about creative strategy especially is it's also very flexible. Not that UGC isn't, but maybe you love content and strategy, but you don't want to be on camera. Obviously, creative strategy is going to allow you to operate behind the scenes as compared to a UGC creator, like you literally have to be on camera. And say, for example, maybe you work a full-time job, 40 hours a week, and you can carve out 10 hours of spare time for consulting. For example, 10 strategic hours a week can equal $6,000 a month in retainer income. That's literally what I charge one of my clients for 40 hours a month. So if you are in marketing, this is going to compound your resume. If you are a student, this gives you real-world reps faster than waiting for an internship. It might actually be the reason why you secure that internship. The market does not pay for credentials alone, it pays for proof. So it's going to help you build things like your case studies. Because unfortunately, I watched many peers graduate expecting high salaries immediately, only to realize entry levels still requires earning your reps. I chose to earn reps first by not going to college, so by the time many of my peers were graduating, I already had years of experience compounding, I had built case studies, etc. If you're in another industry entirely, but you understand things like messaging, persuasion, storytelling, or even psychology, this is a lateral move, not starting over. We've had students from like nursing, psychology, corporate roles, even retirees, like Gen Xers, people who had transferable skills, build literal 6 and even 7-figure businesses after learning how to apply those skills to UGC and creative strategy and beyond, because the ones that are pushing the 7 figures have now applied what we taught them to TikTok Shop. And the most powerful part, they didn't guess their way there. They followed the structure that UGC Pro laid out for them. Since summer of 2022, I've taught over 17,900 students, which is like crazy to say. Like that many people trusted our video courses and our resources. And that is exactly why I built UGC University and our Intro to Creative Strategy video course. So really quickly, UGC University, it teaches positioning, pitching, pricing, and execution, everything that is required to operate as a high-performing UGC creator. And then our Intro to Creative Strategy video course teaches you how to think in performance, which means how to analyze data, structure tests, and make strategic decisions instead of just producing assets. And after completing it, students typically do one of two things. They either raise their rates, often sometimes even doubling them. And when I say rates, I'm talking about UGC because they now deliver insight and not just content. So when a brand hires them, they know that this UGC creator operates like a creative strategist, or they unlock an entirely new income stream offering creative strategy consulting to brands, further diversifying their income. When you shift from creator to strategic partner, brands pay so much more. One thing to point out too is like if you're just looking for occasional one-off work, UGC is definitely more fitting because you're more likely to secure a reoccurring monthly retainer and contract as a creative strategist as compared to a UGC creator. And this isn't hype. It is leverage in a skill set that brands are already paying a ton of money for. To those that are watching and this lane makes sense for you, the resources are there. They're linked in the description. Use code YouTube25 for 25% off. And if you're listening to this and you're like, I'm not really into content or strategy, it's okay because the blueprint, it still applies and you can work on that in your side hustle workbook, which we created in partnership with Entrepreneur, and I've also linked in the description below. Either way, build something that gives you options. That is the most important takeaway from this long editor note. And back to our regularly scheduled program. Now I want you to ask yourself, what skill do I already have that someone would pay to outsource? Not a skill that you could learn, not what looks cool online or what's trending. What do I already have and what do I already know how to do at a high level? And that's your first offer. For me, when I first started UGC, it felt obvious because it sat right next to what I was already doing. I understood paid media, I understood hooks, retention, and conversion psychology. For me, creating UGC style ads wasn't a stretch, it was a format shift. Did I hesitate? Did I feel nervous? Of course. Anytime that you attach a price to your skill, there is doubt, there is worry, there is imposter syndrome. But I knew the underlying strategy worked because I had seen the data behind it. That gave me conviction. I look back on one of my first projects that I did that I was paid for. It wasn't glamorous. It was a small test project for a brand that needed performance-driven content. I priced it out conservatively because I wanted speed and proof more than profit at that moment in time. And that first invoice wasn't just money, it was most importantly validation. And I look back on those small moments because they matter. Because once someone pays you outside of your employer, you stop being theoretical and it becomes real. Followed by step 2, which has to do with warm leads. This is the part that nobody wants to hear, but your fastest income will not come from strangers. It will come from people that you already know. We're going to keep it simple. I want you to open a spreadsheet and list every company, agency, and point of contact that you have worked with in the last 3 to 5 years. Yes, that means every client, every coworker, every vendor, and every brand partner. Because guess what? Those are your warm leads. And warm leads convert much faster because trust has already been built. This isn't cold outreach, it is reactivation. And I need you to change that perspective. You are not selling them, you are not convincing someone, you are capable and they have already seen your work. And I don't want you to overcomplicate things with some crazy pitch. It can be as simple as, hey, I'm taking on one extra project this month. Are you needing support with X? I can do a short pilot so that you can see if it's useful, like, paid test project, etc. Don't do unpaid work if you can avoid it. That exact script is in your workbook on the validation page. Simple, direct, low pressure, and the goal is conversions, not perfection. Followed by step 3, LinkedIn is SEO for your business and career. If you don't have these warm leads, I want you to create warm adjacency. That means second-degree connections, mutuals, and shared industries, and optimizing your LinkedIn profile like it is a search engine, because it really is. Recruiters and founders are typing in keywords, and one of those keywords could have your name pop up if that keyword is also on your profile. Your headline should be clear and searchable, again, with SEO keywords. Your About Me section should reinforce what you solve, and your experience section should be specific and outcome-driven. I want it to be clear, searchable, and specific. Also, if you can quantify any of your accomplishments, I recommend you do so. Every full-time job and client that I have landed in the last 5 years has come from warm leads or LinkedIn. And that's not just luck, that is positioning. And when you position yourself well, you create inbounds. And inbounds mean that you stop chasing. I have not had to send one single cold outreach message in over 5 years. Now, I want you to open up your workbook to the demand validation sprint page, which is on page 5. There are 3 demand signals that you are looking for. Are people already paying for this? Do jobs already exist for it? Are competitors already selling it? If the answers aren't yes, all 3, I want you to rethink your offer. And if you haven't already downloaded the Side Hustle workbook, I've linked it in the description below. Then I want you to send 5 warm lead messages and 5 LinkedIn mutual messages, so 10 total. That is your minimum viable test. Not a logo, not a website, not a brand photo shoot, 10 messages. We don't want to put the cart before the horse. That is how you validate your demand. Action creates clarity faster than thinking ever will. Building from scratch can feel exciting. Building from leverage might feel boring, but boring makes money way faster. And you are not trying to go viral. You are trying to build a runway. Again, a second leg under your life. And if you're employed, it is going to require some discipline because you're already getting your cushy salary. It's, set and forget. But if you've been laid off, this is your momentum. So again, it's same actions, different emotional context. One is going to require actually taking out time after your workday, and the other is making sure you work quickly. In the next episode, we're going to talk about what happens after you land those first projects, because one-off money feels good, but you know what's better? Repeat money changes your life. And the shift from random payments to predictable is where real stability starts. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the UGC Pro podcast. I hope today's episode gave you inspiration and practical steps to apply to your business. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to hit follow, leave a review, and share it with another creator or marketer. And make sure to catch our next episode. Now, I don't want to give too much away, but let's just say you will not want to miss out. Until then, remember that success is a strategy and you are your most valuable client. So treat yourself like it. And lastly, if you aren't already connected with us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, X, look up UGC Pro and be sure to follow along. And as always, I wish you the best of luck on your UGC and creative strategy journey.